Hi friends, this is Bakappa. Welcome back to Testers Talk channel. In the previous REST assured API testing tutorial, I have discussed about how to perform data-driven testing using JSON file in the REST assured API testing. And in this chapter 9, I will discuss how to perform data-driven testing using CSV file in the REST assured API testing. Now I will start discussing about how to perform the data-driven testing using the CSV file. So let us look at the scenario first, then we'll start creating the test data and we'll implement the logic. Then finally we will be able to perform the data-driven testing using the CSV file. So now let's go to the postman tool. So here we are using the create booking API, and here we are passing all the details in the request body. So that is nothing but first name, last name, total price, deposit paid, booking dates, and additional dates. So after making the post API request, we will get the 200 as a status code, and also we'll get the booking ID and all the booking details what we have passed it in the request body. So if you look at in the request body, we are passing couple of fields and the respective values. So what we will do in this data driven testing is, so we will pass first name, last name, and the total price from the CSV file, where we will pass the first set of test data and it will create the one booking, and we will pass the second set of test data and it will create the another booking, and then we can pass like that. We can pass the multiple sets of test data to the this particular post API request and we can create the booking. So let's go to the Eclipse IDE now. So simply I will close this postman tool, and what we will do is first we need to use the one maven dependency called OpenCSV. So here I'm going to the google.com. I'm searching for the OpenCSV maven dependency. So that's it. Here I will go to the maven repository link, and then here I will use the latest version, that is a 5.7.1 version. Simply I will copy this maven dependency and I will go to the pom.xml file and I'll add the maven dependency. And after adding the maven dependency, simply save it. So that's it, guys. So we are done with adding the maven dependency now. So let's start creating the test data. So inside the src test resources folder, I will add the one CSV test data file. So here I'll say new and then file. So I'll go to the new, then here I'll choose the other option, then here I'll type file. So that's it. Then I will add the file name here. So here I'll say test data csv.csv. So that's it. So now I will go back to the, so here I'll say cancel. So if you look at inside the src test resources folder, we have the test data csv.csv file. So let's go to the location where exactly this particular file exists, and we'll add the test data now. So every CSV file contains the values separated by the comma, right? So we will add all the values inside the CSV file now. So I will open this file with the notepad++. Then here I will add the first headers. I'll add it. Here I'll say first name, then I'll say comma, and then I'll say last name, and followed by I will specify the total price. So these are the values we are passing from the CSV file. So simply I will say no as of now. Then let's add the test data now. So this is the headers, right? So let's add the first name followed by the last name and the price, right? So here I'll say API testing by, then I'll say the comma. So this is the first name, and let's add the last name. Here I'll say testers top, then I'll say 1000. So if you look at here, so here I'll say save it. So that's it, guys. Not an issue. So I got some issue while saving the file. So I think it is opened in the Excel as well, right? So that's not an issue, guys. So first we have added the first name and followed by the last name and total price. So this is the first name, and followed by that we have the last name and we have the total price. So like this we will add the another two set of test data. So here I'll say rest assured by, here I'll say tester stock as the last name, then I'll specify the total price, and we have added the second set of test data, and let's add the third set of test data. Here I'll say postman by, then I'll say comma, then I'll say the last name as testers stock, then I'll specify the total price as 3000. That's it, guys. So we have the test data file ready. Let's close this file. That's it. Let's go to the Eclipse now. So we have the test data file ready. So let's add the location of the test data file. So here I'll go to the file name constants.java class. Simply I will add the file location here. So I will copy this line and I will add the file location. So here I'll specify the variable name as CSV test data, and followed by that let's add the file name as test data csv.csv. So that's it, guys. So far what we have done is we have added the maven dependency, and after that we have created the test data file, and also we have specified the test data file location. Now let's create the quickly one TestNG class. So inside the com.testautomation.ep-testing.tests, inside this I will create the one TestNG class. So here I'll say class, and after that I will select the TestNG class, then I will click on next. Then here I'll add the class name as data driven testing using CSV file. So that's it. So here we got the data driven testing using CSV file class, right? So after that what I will do is simply I will rename the test method name as data driven testing. That's it, guys. So we have the test method here. So first we will discuss how to write the logic to fetch the test data from the CSV file, right? So here I'm using the @DataProvider from the TestNG, and by using that we can fetch the test data from the CSV file, and we can pass each row test data to this particular @test method. So here I'm using the one annotation called DataProvider. Inside that I'll specify the name of the data provider. So here I'll say CSV test data, and then followed by that I will add the one method public object. So return type of this method is two-dimensional object. Then I'll specify the method name as get test data. So that's it, guys. So inside this method I'm going to add the three reference variables first, and after that we will create the respective object, and we will start utilizing it in the while loop for storing all the test data from the CSV file now. So here I'm adding the first reference variable called 2D object, that is a two-dimensional object, right? So return type of this method is 2D array, right? So that's the reason here I'm first declaring the object 2D array. So here I'm saying object followed by the 2D array, and here I'm saying object array, and I'll specify the null as of now. So later we'll add each row test data into the object array reference variable. Then finally I will return the object array. So that's it. So now after creating the reference variable of the 2D object array, I will add the two more reference variables. So let's do the declaration for the another two variables. First one is map. So why I am creating the map here is we will store every row test data in the form of key and value form. So after that, once we are holding the first row test data, we will store into the another list of map objects. So that's the reason. So first we are creating the reference variable of the map. So this map contains the each row test data. And once we are having the every row test data, we have to add it into the list of map objects. So that's the reason here I'm creating the another reference variable, that's a list of map objects. So inside that I'll say just string, and then here I'll say test data list. Then I will assign the null. So we will create the respective objects later in the same method. So let's import it list from the java.util package. That's it, guys. I hope you understood, I guess, right? So first we are using this object 2D object array. So once we read the test data from the CSV file, we are assigning back to this 2D object array. So finally this object array contains all the test data from the CSV file. So coming to the second one, that's the map. So this object is used for storing the each row test data. And once we are having each row test data, we'll add that into our list of map objects, right? That's very simple, guys. So let's read the test data from the CSV file first. So here I'm using the CSV reader. By using this reader class, so here I'm creating the object of the CSV reader, and here I'll say just new and followed by CSV reader. So inside this one I will pass the one object called file reader. So inside this one, so we are creating the object of the CSV reader, and inside this I'm passing the another object called new file reader. So inside this one we have to specify the file location now. So here I'll use the file name constants dot CSV test data. So this particular variable contains the location of our CSV test data file. So that's it. So once we read the CSV test data file, so let's surround this particular statement with the try and catch block, because whenever we are performing any operations with respect to the files, we'll get the exceptions. So that's the reason. So it will suggest us to add the try and catch block, right? So after creating the object of the CSV reader, simply we have to, so by using this CSV reader we can read every line from the CSV test data file, right? So before that, so let's start creating the object of our list of map objects, right? So let's use this reference variable. So by using this one, so here I'm just using the new operator followed by the array list. So here I'm just creating the array list object, and inside this one simply I will add the map of, so map generic type I'll add it. So that's it, guys. So after that simply I'll say semicolon, and right. So this particular array list object we are using to store all the rows test data from the CSV file. So after that what we are doing is simply I'm creating the one string array variable here. So here I'll say line. So this particular line holds the every line test data from the CSV file. So once we declare the array of strings, then so this particular variable we are using to read the every value from the each row. For example, we have the first name. To read the first name, we are using the line of 0. To read the second test data, that's the last name, we are specifying the line of 1. And basically if we are having n number of test data, by specifying the index we can read the particular value from the CSV file. So before that we have to iterate through all the file, right, so that we can access one by one value. So that's the reason here I'm writing the while condition. So inside the while condition I'm using the CSV reader object by using this one. Here I'm calling to the method called read next. So this read next method will returns me the one by one line of test data from the CSV file. So I wanted to run this particular while loop till end of the file, and I will assign back to our line variable. So this particular variable contains the every line test data from the CSV file. then I will surround this with the brackets, and once we surround this with the brackets, so basically this while loop will run till the end of the file, guys. That's it. So that's very simple. So now what we have to do is simply you can add the catch statement. That's not an issue. So because we are performing the CSV file related operation, that is input output operations. So once we are having the, for example, let's say we have the first line of test data, right, in this particular variable. So we have to get the first name, and we have to get the last name, and we have to get the total price, and then we have to add that data into the our map object, right? So that's the reason, let's create the object of the map. Then we will add the each test data into the our map object. So here I'm creating the object of the tree map. So inside this I will say just string as generic type, string, and here I'll say string dot case in sensitive order. So that's it, guys. So no need to worry about this one much as of now. Just you can use the string dot case in sensitive underscore order. That's it, guys. You can import the tree map from the java.util package, and once we are having the map object, we can get the every value from this particular line. For example, let's say we got the first row test data, and we can access that particular test data. For example, if I wanted to access the first name, so I can access this, I can access it by using the line of 0. So that will returns me the first name. If I'm specifying the line of 1, it will returns me the last name. If I'm specifying the line of 2, and it will returns me the total price. So by using this map, simply I am using the put method. So we have the values. Simply we have to specify the key, and we have to assign the values, right? So here I'm specifying the first key as the first name, and then we have to specify the value here. So this particular variable contains the one line of test data. By using this one, we can access the first name, last name, and the total price. So simply I specify the line of 0. So this line of 0 contains the first name. So similarly, I will access the last name and the total price. So here I'll say last name, and I'll specify the index as 1. Then I'll specify the total price. Then I'll add the index as the 2. So this returns me the total price. So that's it, guys. So this is the one line of test data. We have the first set of test data. So what we have to do is simply we have to add this particular map object into the list of map object. So whenever we get the first set of test data, we will add that into the our test data list, and whenever we get the second set of test data, we will have to add that test data into the our test data list. So that's the reason what I will do is simply I will use this test data. And if you look at here, so here we have created the object of the array list. That's a list of map objects. So this is a just map object. We can add n number of map objects into the our array list, right? So simply I will use this reference variable, and I will here I'll say add. That's it. So simply I'm adding this map object into the our test data list. So basically this test data list variable contains the list of map objects. So every map object is nothing but the one set of test data. So that's it, guys. It's very simple. So we are done with implementing 60% of the logic. Now only 40% of the logic is pending. So what you have to do is simply, so once we are having all the rows of test data from the CSV file, simply here I'm creating the object of the 2D array. So I will use the object array by using this one. So here I'm adding the new, here I'll say object, and here I'll specify the size. So already we got the size of the test data, right? So in this particular variable, we are adding all the test data, right? So this particular array list contains the how many number of test data we have, right? So that's the reason here I'm specifying the size. That's it, guys. That's it, guys. It's very easy now. So now once we created the 2D array object. Now I will iterate through this particular test data list object now. So simply I'm writing the one for loop here, and so I will run this for loop till end of this test data list. So here I'll say test data list dot size. That's it, guys. So now we have the list of map objects. So by using this one, test data list dot, here I'll say get. So by specifying the index, I can get the every row test data. All right. So by using this one, simply I will assign back to our object array. That's a 2D object array. So here I'll say, so you can simply specify the one here as of now. Then, so once we are having the each row test data, for example, first time it will gets the first set of test data, and I will assign back to the our object array. Right, simply I'll say here I, and followed by that I'll say the 0. So what it does, this particular for loop is, it's very simple. So it will get the first set of test data, and it will assign back to the object array, and it will get the second, whenever I increments, it will get the second set of test data, and it will assign back to the object array, and third time it will gets the third set of test data, and it will assign back to the object array. So on, based on the number of test data we have in the test CSV test data file. So that's it, very simple, guys. It's very simple. So just you need to understand the bit logic about this part. So if you got the logic around here, so rest of the stuffs are very simple. Just we have specified the 3 reference variables. That is nothing but we have declared 3 reference variables, and after that we have created the respective objects, and after that we are operating on the maps. Every map is nothing but we have the one set of test data, and we are adding that map test data into our list of map objects. And by using that, so we are taking the each row test data, and we are assigning back to our object 2D array. So that's it, guys. So this is all about the implementation about the data provider, and it will gets the test data from the CSV file, and it will pass on to our @test method now. So let's come back to the test method. So what I will do is simply I will use our data provider name. So here I'm using the data provider name. So this particular data provider has to pass our CSV test data file. So that's the reason I'm copying this name of the data provider, and I'll paste it here. So whenever it passes the first set of test data, right, it has to accept that particular test data. So that's the reason here I'm adding the one map reference variable. So once we are having the test data in the form of map, we can access by using the key, right? So that's very easy, guys. So let's try to print the test data first, then we will create the post API request by using the REST assured. So let's use the system, sorry guys. So here I'm using the just system.out.println, and simply I will use the test data dot, here also get. So by using the get, we can access the value. Simply here we have to specify the key name. So let's check it out whether we are getting the proper first name. So we should get all the values. So there's a small tweak we have to do it, because it is going to print us the header also, right? So that tweak I will discuss a bit later after printing all the first names. So now we have the logic is ready, and let's check the logic now. So here I'm running the TestNG test, and if you look at this particular console, and it is reading all the values. So last three has the proper value, and if you look at the first one, it is returning as the header also. And if you look at here, so we have the total 4 sets of test data, but we have the only three sets of actual test data, right? There is a small tweak we have to do it so that we can ignore this particular header test data, so that we have the first name, last name, and the total price. So let's add that tweak inside the @data provider. So what I will do is simply I will add the one counter variable. So here I'll say counter is equal to 0. That's it. So whenever I enter inside the while loop for the first time, I don't want to consider that as the test data. So here I'm adding the if condition, if count is equal to 0. So it simply come out of this particular while loop. So you should not execute whenever count value is 0. You don't need to get the test data and add it into, sorry guys. So first time whenever you enter inside this while loop, so it will not execute all these statements. So simply it will go inside the if condition, and here I'll say simply count plus plus. And after that I'll add the one statement called continue. So what it does is, so first time whenever count is equal to 0, and it will enter inside this while loop to read the test data. So first row is nothing but our headers values are there. So that's the reason we want to ignore it. So here it will come inside this particular if condition, and I value it will be, sorry guys, so it will count value will be increased to 1. So whenever I count value is 1, it will never come inside the this if condition. So whenever it comes the first time inside the while loop and it comes inside the if condition, simply it will execute the continue statement. Continue is nothing but it will ignore the all these statements. So it will never add the headers into the our test data, right? So let's check it out by executing the our test now. So this time it will not print the header values. So now we will have the only 3 set of test data. And if you look at here, total test done is 3 and it's getting passed. And if you see here, there is no header values. So right now we are having the proper values. So this is all about how to implement the data provider to fetch the data from test data from the CSV file. Now let's create the post API request using the rest assured, where we will pass the all the test data from our data provider. So here I will go to the one of the class called data driven testing using JSON file. Simply I will copy this particular post API request using the rest assured, and it is very easy guys. So already we have discussed multiple times how to create the post API request. So simply I will paste it inside the test method, and then here we will pass all the test data. So now you can simply surround this with the try and catch block, because we are getting some exceptions at the line number 37. So here I'll say surround with try and catch. That's it. Now in the line number 34, in the booking object, we are passing all the data. If you look at here, so firstly we are passing the F name, first name, last name, additional needs, and the total price, and deposit paid, and the booking dates. So simply I'm using the test data, and here I have specified the test data dot get. So here we have specified the first name. So by using the key name, simply we can get the value from the CSV test data file. And here we have passed the first name, and then we have passed the last name. Then here we need to pass our total price, right? So let's get the total price. So what we will do is by using here I'll say int total price, and I will use the test data dot get. So inside this I will specify our key name. Here I'll say total price. That's it. So once we are having the total price, we have to cast this string into the integer type. So that's the reason here I'm using the integer dot, here I'll say %. So let's remove this part. So here I'll say integer dot here I'll say %. So inside this we need to pass the string, and it will convert into the integer value. So simply I will pass our test data dot get total price. So that's it guys, it's very simple. Now here I have casted our string into the total price. So now what I will do is simply I will take this total price and I will pass on to our booking object, right? So simply I will paste it here. That's it. So let's look at here what exactly the issue is. So we are getting some error. So let's add the bracket. So that's it guys. Now so let's clear the log file, and our test is ready. So we are able to fetch the test data from the data provider, and one by one it is able to pass all the test data from the CSV file, and this our test method is capable of accepting all the test data, and it is able to pass on to the our API request finally here, request body, right? So now let's make sure that our log file is empty, because it will print all the details over here, all the API request details and the API response details over here in this log file. And before we execute this one, let's create the suite file. So here I will convert this particular data-driven testing using CSV file. I will convert this into the TestNG suite file. So here I'll create the suite file under the suites folder, and here I'll specify the suite file name as data-driven testing using csv.xml, and I'll specify the suite name as data-driven testing. That's it. So let's click on the finish button. So if you look at here, so we got our suite file, right? So now let's start executing our TestNG suite file. So simply right click on that. Here you can say the run as TestNG suite file. So let's open the console output. So if you look at here, so it is started all the execution, and let's look at the end result. So total test run is 3 and all are passing, right? So let's look at this particular logs. So first time it is passing the API testing by tester stock, and second time it is passing the rest assured by tester stock, and third time it is passing the postman by tester stock. So let's look at the log4j log file. Let's open the applogs.txt file, and if you look at here, for the first time it is passing the API testing by tester stock and it is getting the response, and the second time it is passing the rest assured by tester stock, then it is getting the API response, and third time it is passing the postman by tester stock, then it is getting the API response, right? So this is how you can implement the data-driven testing using the CSV file. So from my side we have one assignment. So what you can do is simply in the test data file you can include all the details, whatever we have, check-in date, checkout date, and also we have our deposit paid also, and you can specify this additional needs also in the test data file, and you can specify all those details in the test data file, and you can pass on to the @test method. And next, second thing what you can do is, so right now we are validating only the 200 status code. So you can start validating all the values which we are passing in the request body. So we are passing the first name, last name, total price, right? All those values you can validate from the API response. So this is all I have in this data-driven testing using the CSV file. This is Bakapa. Welcome to API testing full course. You can access all the exercise which we have done in the whole API testing course. I have already provided this link in the video description. So anyone can access this link, and also you can get the whole collections and also the environment variable details. So you can take that URL which is there in the description of this below video and paste it in the web browser. And after that, so once it is opened, so you need to export this collections into your local system. So it will open like this after accessing the link. So this is a public access URL which I have shared it. You can click on this booking API. You can see all the APIs are there inside the 2 folders. So what you can do is you can click on this 3 dots and you can export it. So you can click on this export, and firstly you can export this booking API collection, and after that on the right side you can select the booking API environment, and after that click on this icon and click on the edit. Then you can click on 3 dots and you can click on this export. So this will export the environment variable details. So after exporting it, so you will get these 2 files. And once you have these 2 files, you can go to the Postman and you can click on this import and make sure that you are there in this file tab, and you can click on choose files, and you can select the firstly collection, that's the postman collection, and you can open it, and after that you can click on import. So firstly you can load the postman collection, and after that you can load the environment details. So as I have already these APIs in my system, I don't want to import it, and this is how you can get the exercise which we have done in the API testing full course. You can find all the code which I have discussed in the rest assured API testing full course. You can search with the Buckupy and GitHub in the google.com, and here you can go to the my GitHub repository, and over here in the repositories tab you will find the rest assured API testing framework. You can go inside the this repository, and you can click on this code, and you can copy this URI, and by using this URI, and you can simply use the git in your local machine, and you can simply clone it by using the git clone, and followed by that specify the URL. So you will get the whole code which I have discussed in the rest assured API testing full course.